Welcome, everyone. It is 5 o'clock, and we'll get into the Dutton Dunwich Council meeting. Tara, let's get us into the meeting.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich opens at 5 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have a declaration of pecuniary interest? I do have, and it is severance E8822, E9222, 10022, and 10122, and our clerk has the paperwork. Okay, if we could adopt the draft minutes as received by council. Is there any errors or omissions or any comments? Seeing none, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Droulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich approves the draft minutes of the December 14th, 2022 meeting forwarded to council members, and the mayor and clerk are authorized to sign same. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay. Are there any items not on the agenda?
There are none.
Thank you.
Mayor Hans, I'd like to add a couple items under other business. I'd like to give a report on the arena board budget that we looked at this morning. I'd also, on the close, I'd like to give a report on the development. And I guess the other thing that I requested that didn't get on is kind of a verbal report on our short-term rentals, where we are with that. We keep getting lots of calls on that, so.
Okay. And we can handle that under other business?
Mayor Hens, may I step in for a second?
Yeah.
I'd like to, under new business, acknowledge the work of the Optimist Club at the Christmas parade and the event that took place. So,
Okay, noted. Okay, we have a fairly big agenda, so we're going to try my best to keep us on schedule here. We'll go right to the reports. The manager of roads monthly report. Any questions, comments from council? Seeing none, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Droulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the Manager of Roads and Facilities titled Public Works Monthly Report for December 2022, dated January 11th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. The monthly safety meeting minutes. Any questions from council? Seeing none, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the Public Works Safety Meeting minutes dated January 6th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
The water operations monthly report. Any comments, questions from council? Seeing none, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Droulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the Water Operations Manager titled Water Operations Report, December 2022, dated January 11th, 2023 for information, and that Council receives the 2022 Dutton Dunwich Management Review as per Element 20 of the DWQMS Plan for information and future DWQMS requirements. All in favor? And that's carried.
And the monthly safety meeting minutes. Any questions from council? Seeing none, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the Water Department monthly safety meeting minutes dated January 3rd, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
And the wastewater operator monthly report. Any comments? Councillor Doolard?
Yeah, Mary Hans, I just noticed that we're operating at a higher capacity again. Was it weather related? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, we hope for dry weather. It makes us look a lot better, but which we had this fall. Our numbers looked really good. So anyway, we're going to address that. It's a priority. Any other questions? Clerk Tara?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the wastewater operator titled Monthly Report, December 2022, dated January 11th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
And we have the fire chief monthly report. Any questions from council? Seeing none. Clerk Tara?
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the fire chief titled Monthly Report, December 2022, dated January 11th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
And now we have number 9, the drainage department. We have the drainage superintendent monthly report, and Brent is here. So any questions from council? It could be directed right to Brent. Or do you have any further comments to this report, Brent?
No, I don't. Any questions?
Okay. No questions from council? Okay, Clerk Tara?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the drainage superintendent titled Monthly Activity Report for December 2022, dated January 11th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
It looks like we're a little early for the meeting to consider the report. I think we have to hold to that timeline. Is there anything further in drainage, Brent, that we could deal with? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear him.
We can do with C, lock screen.
Okay, yep. Do you want to speak to that, Brent?
We just put out tenders and we got 3 back. Lamers is the lowest. Lamers has done work in Dutton Dunwich before and they've done good work. I recommend we appoint that contract to Lamers. Also in there so that you note that it looks like the municipality's liable for about 1/5 of the cost of that maintenance within the assessment schedules.
Okay, any questions from council? No. Okay, Clerk Tara, we can go ahead with the resolution.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the drainage superintendent titled Lodge and Graham Open Drain Maintenance dated January 11th, 2023 for information, and that council award Lamers Excavating the contract for maintenance of the Lodge and Graham drain in the amount of $5,340 plus HST. All in favor? And that's carried.
I think we can also deal with the stormwater management. D,
Yes, currently, the water coming off the Agri site flows naturally into the butternut milk or bog. What they're proposing to do as part of the site development is build a stormwater management system, which is going to control the water and release it to the or the Dutton School drain. And water will still flow to the buttermilk bog in extreme weather events when we are approaching an in excess of 100-year storm, still flow into that bog. So there'll be more controlled flow. The engineer's letter explains that clearly, and Spreed Associates, John and his counterparts have reviewed the site plans, and he can confirm that what they're proposing is reasonable with what they've proposed for their site, so.
any questions from council on that? Just one question I may have. The species of trees and everything else in buttermilk bog will not be affected in a negative way with what you're proposing?
That I can't answer for sure. When we walked through there with the on-site meeting, John can confirm, it looked more like a dry facility. It was definitely not full of, didn't look like it was full of water-loving plants like I would expect in a bog. That being said, when we go to construct the drain, we may harm or destroy a few plants. We can try to avoid them, right?
Yeah, we're gonna try to weave around as many trees and plants as we possibly can when we construct the Dutton School drain. In terms of the water, right now, the water flows in that direction and it's not really controlled. I mean, it's just a problem. When they do their site plan, reviewing the drawings I saw, it's gonna be, directed to catch basins, better controls. I think, in my opinion, would improve the situation. What's there now?
Okay, thank you. The bog is quite important to the town of Dutton, so anything you could do to minimize disrupting that
Yeah,
would be much appreciated.
yeah, no, I can understand that. We've surveyed a rig and we have a bunch of jobs and then normally you would think, what was the engineer thinking?
There are a lot of unique tree species in there at great care, and I'll just warn you that Mark Hulls would not be happy if something happened to it, so.
So should we be in touch with Marg Hall to go for a walk once we know more details?
I think that's an excellent idea. The more she knows, the better, and credit to Marg, she has restored that thing through her own hard work, so let's loop her in on this one.
Sure.
It would make good PR, I think.
Yeah, because unfortunately, I don't think we'll get all the way through without causing some harm to some plants, but
Yeah,
we're trying to minimize that.
okay, thank you. Any other comments? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Drouillard.
Just in keeping with Marg, I think that she'll also be able to identify the ones that are incredibly at risk. Like she knows that like the back of her hand. So I think that she'll be able to help you out and say, these are the ones that are really in danger. So,
Yeah, when I walked through, I didn't notice anything like a Kentucky coffee tree or a sassafras or anything like that going through where we were proposing to go. So hopefully there's might be a shrub or something there, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Tara?
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Drouillard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the Drainage Superintendent titled Agris Property Stormwater Management Facility Overflow Channel dated January 11th, 2023 for information, and that council approves the controlled overflow channel from the proposed stormwater management facility being constructed at the Agris Dutton facility to Buttermilk Bog. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, I see it's 5:15, the scheduled time. Thanks, John. We're good? Okay.
Moved by Drulart, seconded by Loveland, that the meeting to consider the engineer's report for the Dude Ranch Hill Drain and the Bennett Drain upper portion opens at 5:16 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Your worship, would you like me to present my report?
Yeah, we're all
Guys
set.
got some reading.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the meeting to consider the report for the Dude Ranch Hill Drain dated November 16th, 2022, that was submitted to council by the engineer John M. Spreet of Spreet Associates. The purpose of this meeting is to allow the landowners and other affected parties to be given the opportunity to voice their concerns relating to any aspect of this report. I would ask that any affected parties present please make us aware of your attendance now and for the record. Do we have a sign-in sheet, Clerk Tara? During this meeting, each owner in the area requiring drainage that signed a Drainage Act Section 4 petition shall be given the opportunity to withdraw their name by putting the request in writing, signing and filing the notice with the clerk. Any owner in the area requiring drainage who did not sign the petition shall be given the opportunity to do so. Matters dealing specifically with assessments, including where any land or road has been assessed too high or too low, any land or road that should have been assessed but has not been, or the land use was not duly considered, will be dealt with by the Court of Revision at a date to be determined after the passing of the provisional bylaw. Was everyone notified of this meeting to consider the report of the engineer in an appropriate way that were required to be notified under the Drainage Act?
Yes, before December 21st, 2022, all landowners and affected parties required to be notified under Section 41 of the Drainage Act were sent by regular mail notice of the date and time and location of this meeting. The notice included a copy of the report of the engineer for the Dude Ranch Hill Drain dated November 16th, 2022.
I would ask that engineer John M. Spreet present his report at this time.
Thank you, Your Worship. Tonight's meeting is a Section 4 report, so that's a new drainage report. And it's entitled the Dude Ranch Hill Drain. This report came about as a result of a petition signed by the road authority. This stretch of Aaron Line from the top of the hill down, if you're familiar with it, to Talbot Creek, suffers a lot of erosion. There's a lot of ruts there. It's quite dangerous. So as a result, the road authority signed a request, or a petition rather, to construct a drain to improve that problem. And essentially what we're proposing to do is install a closed drain, a plastic pipe, starting at Talbot Creek and running across the lands of the good lands for a short stretch, about 30 meters, and then run within the road allowance at various locations all the way up to the top of the hill, installing catch basins at a very close spacing to try to get that water underground. You know, we need that water to go underground before it doesn't have that whole hill to travel and cause an erosion. So that's why there's a lot of catch basins on this drain, and we've, have quarry stone riprap and everything behind the basins to reinforce it because that force of that water is pretty strong coming down there. So we're proposing to install a closed drain, basically starting at Talbot Creek and running a distance of 490 meters. We also have some lands that are tributary to it, the Breen lands, and a portion of the good lands. So we've included them in the sizing of the drain so that in the future, they would have the ability to connect to the drain because they don't have a direct outlet to Talbot Creek. They have to go through another property. So we've done that. That's basically the extent of the works. Are there any questions?
Any questions from council? I don't see any. Any landowners affected by this drain present? Don't
We
see any.
heard from Hugh and George Breen that they were unable to attend, and I don't see the cooks here, so there's nobody here.
Okay, online? Anybody attending? Hearing none. Are there any landowners present or wish to add or remove their names from the petition? Not aware of any? Okay, Tara, I guess we're ready for the resolution.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich will provisionally adopt bylaw 2023-01 during this meeting. All in favor? And that's carried.
The clerk will be mailing a copy of bylaw 2023-01 provisionally passed tonight to all landowners and affected parties as required by Section 46 of the Drainage Act. The Court of Revision for the Dude Ranch Hill Drain will be held on February 8, 2023 at approximately 5:15 p.m. Any owner of land assessed for the drainage works may appeal to the Court of Revision on any of the following grounds. Any land or road that has been assessed an amount that is too high or too low. Any land or road that should have been assessed and has not been assessed. Due consideration has not been given to the use being made of the land. By written notice, setting out the grounds of the appeal at least 10 days before the first sitting of the Court of Revision to the clerk of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich. And further, under Section 48 of the Drainage Act, any owner of land or any public utility affected by a drainage works may appeal to the tribunal on other aspects of this drainage works, and in every case, a notice of appeal shall be served within 40 days of the mailing of the provisional bylaw with the clerk of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich. A fact sheet titled Drainage Act Appeals and the forms required to file an appeal with regards to this drain are available on the OMAFRA website and upon request at the municipal office. If you have any questions regarding this drain or any other municipal drain in the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, please contact our Drainage Superintendent, Brent Clutterbuck, at the municipal office. Are we okay for time on the next one? Both at the same time. How we're going to do that? This is, we don't have to do another resolution to get in this. It carries on. This is the meeting to consider the report for the Bennett Drain, upper portion, dated December 6, 2022, that was submitted to council by the engineer John M. Spreet of Spreet Associates. The purpose of this meeting is to allow the landowners and other affected parties to be given the opportunity to voice their concerns relating to any aspect of this report. I would ask that any affected parties present, please make us aware of your attendance now and for the record. There is sign-in sheet on the table on the way in. Matters dealing specifically with assessments, including where any land or road has been assessed, too high or too low, any land or road that should have been assessed but has not been, or the land use was not duly considered, will be dealt with by the Court of Revision at a date to be determined after the passing of the provisional bylaw. Was everyone notified of this meeting to consider the report of the engineer in an appropriate way that were required to be notified under the Drainage Act?
Yes, before December 21st, 2022, all landowners and affected parties required to be notified under Section 41 of the Drainage Act were sent by regular mail notice of the date and time and location of this meeting. For all properties greater than 0.4 hectares in size, the notice included a copy of the report of the engineer for the Bennett Drain upper portion dated December 6, 2022. All properties less than 0.4 hectares in size and less than $100 assessment were sent a copy of the notice and a cover letter informing them that a copy of the report could be viewed on the municipal website or at the municipal office.
I would ask that the engineer, John M. Spreet, present his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. So tonight's meeting is the report on the Bennett Drain upper portions. So we have two things going on this report. The first one is the developer Dutton Land Holdings, Inc., which is the property that owns the southeast corner of Curry Road and Pioneer Line. The existing Bennett open drain is on their property and it's fronting or parallel to Pioneer Line. So they've requested that drain be enclosed for the stretch. They have a commercial development on the corner, and I guess that eventually there'll be a residential subdivision on the rest of it. So it works better for their development if it's enclosed. So what we're proposing to do there is enclose it with a 1,500 millimeter diameter HDP sewer pipe, its entire length. Now we've chosen the plastic pipe because it's got better longevity than steel pipe. You know, this is an enclosure that's going to be here for a lot of years, so we went with the HDP pipe. Now we've sized that drain for a 2-year storm, so that is a rainfall event that occurs on average every 2 years. So if I put that into perspective on the upstream lands where they're tile drains, agricultural drains are sized for 38 millimeters. Sometimes if people want more, 50 millimeters of rain. That's a lot less rainfall than a 2-year storm. So this drain has sufficient capacity if those drains upstream are improved, because there's a lot of agricultural lands that go into it. So I think that's important that that drain, you know, can accommodate future improvements upstream. Second of all, we are providing a swale over it to allow surface flows beyond that so that they'll still carry on in the original direction. The second part of this report is the Lila Estates branch drain. So when the Lila Estates was constructed, they needed to install a drain, a 675 millimeter drain from the Bennett open drain through the Brokenshire lands all the way to where their new stormwater management pond was. And as a condition of the development agreement, right? Condition of the development agreement, that had to be a municipal drain. So it was constructed, it was inspected, it meets the standards of the municipality. So we're incorporating that drain now and making that a municipal drain. So that drain is, you know, services really the new Lila Estate subdivision. So in this report, it makes that a municipal drain and provides a maintenance schedule for future works. So that sort of sums up our works. I don't know if there's any questions or comments. Any questions for Council?
I just have a question. So page 3 of your report, you're talking about the different kinds of piping and sections of the piping. You have concrete sewer pipe, why did you not go with concrete sewer pipe across the enclosed part of the ditch, which takes a lot of the water from our side road and off of the agricultural land? Why did you not make it concrete as well? Because concrete will last longer than pipe or steel. So I'm just curious. And also, given that there's supposedly going to be future development, I don't know what future development that is, but if you're adding another subdivision and a lot more houses, maybe plastic pipe is not the answer. Maybe concrete pipe and a bigger pipe would be a better suggestion, because you're planning on developing, according to this report, that east corner, at Pioneer Line and Curry Road. And I'm just curious, given that there's going to be future development, is that future development going to run off the side road through that pipe, or is it going to be running off of Curry Road?
So to answer your question, why we didn't use concrete pipe, at that size, it's not economical. The plastic pipe, we've had some enclosures with steel pipe, and the steel pipe is good, but it doesn't last as long. This is a sort of a triple walled plastic pipe that we're using in a lot of places. It's a very good product. It's a very good product to install, and it has a very long lifetime. I'm thinking, 75 to 100 years for this pipe.
So there should,
Support the plastic pipe. Plastic is a bad terminology. Specific plastic is engineered. It'll certainly outlast the concrete. In my opinion, I've had a lot of experience with this pipe in the United States, and it's a product they use in the diameter of this nature. No question about it.
Now, to answer your next question then. So the developer, I'm not the developer, but the developer is proposing to develop this corner. So he has to, prior to develop, submit detailed plans, concept plans. And he's going to have to, you can appreciate when you build a bunch of houses, you get more runoff than you do farmland.
certainly.
So he is going to have to do stormwater management on that entire property.
Okay.
So that the discharge from this property now is no greater, after it's developed than what it is now. So he's going to have to restrict his flow to what we call pre-development conditions. So it will have to match what the farmland, which it is now, contributes to. So that will be done through a process. So when the drain is, when the subdivision gets to a point where they, have detailed drawings, that'll be sent to the municipality. It'll be thoroughly reviewed. Usually it takes, 3 or 4 submissions. You go back and forth, but that's one of the key things that they will have to do. They will not be able to just run their streets and run their houses off into the drain, because that, quite honestly, will take capacity from the upstream property owners.
So it is actually, that whole new area of development is going to be going on to Pioneer Line.
It'll be, it goes into that drain. It goes into that drain now.
So it's already acknowledged, though, that whatever development they do, they already know they're capped at a certain amount, and that is not going to change.
Yes.
That's correct? Okay.
Like if you look at the Lila Street development at the back of Russ Brokenshire's farm, there's a big pond there.
That's correct. I see.
And that's storing the water off of that development and
And is
releasing it.
that, and is the piping coming out of that development, is it cement or is it plastic?
He installed concrete.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought,
It's a smaller pipe.
So,
but that's not the point. The point is that, yes, he used concrete, and he is a developer. That is his subdivision, as was the one previous. That's my point. And I'm not saying I don't have a problem with plastic pipe, but if you're gonna put plastic pipe in the ground, you better make sure it hasn't been sitting around for any period of time, that it's been sitting out in the sun or whatever, that it's going to have issues. Because it's everybody up the side road who's going to have to also cover any kind of repairs or anything.
So when you speak of repairs, so if there's some minor,
That's actually my concern, because I actually live right by there.
so if you speak of repairs, if you actually look in the maintenance schedule, so
What page do you want?
page number 6. So if you go to page number 6 and you go to the last heading, it says maintenance. I don't know if you can, there's,
Page,
Highlight state.
Sorry, page 5.
That's okay. Oh, yes, I've got it highlighted.
Okay, so maintenance. So if you read the second paragraph, so if there's minor repairs to it, you know, if there's something that needs to be cleaned out or flushed or whatever.
Now, wouldn't that be done at the beginning though? If it's going to be cleaned out or flushed, you want to make sure it's running properly when it's first installed.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But if this happens, say, 10, 15 years and now, you know, good from now, you know, if there's a minor repair to it, then it needs, you know, then it needs to be, that those costs will be assessed to the watershed area. Now, if there's a major repair, because it says that if there's a major repair, if we need to replace that whole pipe.
Yeah.
Generally, under the Drainage Act, it just goes to the upstream. But I've specifically written in this report that a new report will have to be written. Because there'll be so many changes to the land area in that time. I mean, this pipe is a really good pipe. I don't think it's gonna happen in any of our lifetimes, you know, era, but I thought it was fair that, you know what, they will have to do a new report because there'll be backyards, there'll be peoples, and those people should be paying the costs, so.
So what would be an example of, I say a repair, if you don't mind my asking, so you don't need to report it, give some example of what a repair would be.
So say that there was, you know, somebody hit it, or if it had a one section where the bell sagged a little bit, which doesn't really happen, or say that there was somehow some debris and it had to be flushed.
Okay.
Those are what it constitutes.
Okay.
Have you signed the sheet?
Oh, yes. Yes, I certainly am.
Any other questions?
And you won't be digging in front of any other lands, correct? On Pioneer Line, you're just going to be digging where the open ditch is.
Yeah, that's what, under this report, that's really only where we're allowed to dig. We can only do what's.
Yes, I'm just wanting to double check to make sure that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything further?
No, I think that's.
Your worship, is there anybody online?
What was that? Sorry?
Maybe ask if there's anybody online.
Anybody online? Any questions from this report? I can't see the names, but I don't hear any. Brent?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drulard, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich will provisionally adopt bylaw 2023-02 during this meeting. All in favor? And that's carried.
Any land or road that has been assessed an amount that is too high or too low. Any land or road that should have been assessed has not been assessed. Due consideration has not been given to the use being made of the land. By written notice setting out the grounds of the appeal at least 10 days before the first sitting of the Court of Revision to the clerk of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich. And further, under Section 48 of the Drainage Act, any owner of land or any public utility affected by a drainage works may appeal to the tribunal on other aspects of this drainage works. And in every case, a notice of appeal shall be served within 40 days of the mailing of the provisional bylaw with the clerk of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich. A fact sheet titled Drainage Act Appeals. The forms required to file an appeal with regards to this drain are available on the OMAFRA website and upon request at the municipal office. If you have any questions regarding this drain or any other municipal drain in the municipality of Dutton Dunwich, please contact our drainage superintendent, Brent Clutterbuck, at the municipal office. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
How you would ask for reconsideration on part of the engineering process. I'm just thinking, given that this Shire is already in cement, you rely on the state. That
Could you come up to a microphone, please?
just want to know how you would ask for a reconsideration. I'd like you to relook at the piping issue, given that Mr. Brockenshire, who has done those 2 subdivisions back there, has used cement and did not use plastic pipe. And he has owned a construction company for a number of years. He knows how to do the work. I would ask that you reconsider that plastic pipe be made cement. That's all.
Duly noted.
You want to speak to?
Okay, we jumped around a little bit, but I think the only thing on drainage is to receive the report of the engineer on the Pierce drain.
Mayor Hens, would you like me to close the meeting to consider the report?
Absolutely.
Moved by Drouillard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the meeting to consider the engineer's report for the Dude Ranch Hill Drain and Bennett Drain upper portion closes at 5:41 PM and the regular meeting reconvenes. All in favor? And that's carried.
It's a good thing Tara's here to keep me on track. Okay, Brent, I'm just going to hand that over to you to receive the report on the Pierce drain.
Okay, the report's before you. This is a report to improve a section of the Pierce drain. We held a meeting before Christmas with affected landowners, and I followed up with the one landowner who wasn't in attendance at that meeting and discussed it. And the engineer feels that he's covered off everybody's concerns, and if council receives it tonight, we will consider that at our meeting in February.
Okay. Any questions of Brent from council? Go ahead, Tara.
Moved by Drouillard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the engineer's report for the Pierce drain and instructs the clerk to notify everyone required to be notified under Section 41 of the Drainage Act, and that council will hold a meeting to consider the report at their regular council meeting February 8th, 2023 at approximately 5:15 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay. Thanks, John. Brent? I see we have Tracy on board. We'll get into planning, and I can hang around for the first one. An application for severance E83-22 at 31846 Aaron Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, Katrinas and Helen Mary Van Brink. Tracy, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the members of the council. Before you is an application for consent that is submitted to us by the County of Elgin Land Division. It was an application that was made to them by the applicant and the agent. So I'm just going to highlight the background and some of the key things that I feel that you should be aware of on this application. The report before you has a detailed copy of the application and sketch. So what's unique about this one, it's that it's a request for a lot line adjustment. So we're actually not creating any new lots. The owners are requesting that the parcel from the south merge with the parcel to the north. So the part that's being severed is 0.4 hectares in size. It's used for farming with no buildings. That severed parcel will move to the lands to the north. And the lands have currently to the north have no legal frontage. So this is actually going to help that farmer be able to have access right onto the roadway. And the approximate size of that parcel is 11.38 hectares. The retained piece is the piece that will be kept, is approximately 1.1 hectares in size, and it's used for residential, has a house, a shed, and it's serviced by municipal water and septic system. So the proposed severance application is circulated to municipal staff. I've summarized all of the staff comments in my report. I've gone through all of the required policies and regulations that council needs to consider, such as provincial policy statements, the County of Elgin official plan, the Dutton Dunwich official plan. Those all support this type of lot line adjustment. With respect to the zoning for this property is special rural residential or RS zone in our zoning bylaw. So one of the conditions of severance would be that a zoning bylaw amendment be required for just the severed parcel. The severed parcel will then be rezoned to a special agricultural A2 zone, which is the same zoning as the abutting lands. And the retained parcel with the house will remain as an RS zone, and all other regulations will be complied with. So to wrap this up, administration supports that council recommends approval to the land division for the proposed severance. The condition and those resolution that the mayor will read out will then be forwarded to land division for their final consideration. They actually hold the public meeting. We are just a commenting agency. I do want to note that as part of Bill 23, there are no longer third-party appeals, but there is an appeal period that will be attached once the land division makes their final decision. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Application for Severance E8322 31846 Aaron Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, Katrinas and Helen Mary Van Brink, dated January 11th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Loveland, seconded by Droulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich recommends approval to the Land Division Committee of the County of Elgin for proposed severance application E8322 for 31846 Aaron Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, provided the following conditions are included. A, that a zoning bylaw amendment is in force and effect for the severed parcel. B, that septic system review for this retained parcel has been completed. C, that 2 hard copies and 1 digital copy of the registered survey have been provided to the municipality. D, that taxes are to be paid in full. E, that a 911 sign be established for the retained parcels. F, that all Dutton Dunwich planning application fees as set out in the fees bylaw be paid to the municipality. G, that all barns capable of holding livestock or are in disrepair on both the retained and severed lands be removed or decommissioned to the satisfaction of the chief building official. H, that the lots merge on title. And I, that the solicitor provides an undertaking that a copy of the registered deed for the severed parcel, once the transaction has occurred, will be provided to the municipality. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you, Tracy. And at this point, I'm going to hand the proceedings over to Deputy Mayor Loveland, as I have declared a conflict on the next 4 severances.
Thank you, Mayor Hens. The next item on the agenda is application E88 /22. I'll get our planner to review the application and present a report. Tracy?
Thank you very much. So this subject property is located at 28800 Aberdeen Line. The severance application was submitted by the owner for a surplus farm dwelling from a farm parcel of land. The proposed severed parcel is approximately 3,131.356 square meters in area. It's used for residential. It has one house and serviced by municipal water and private septic system. The proposed retained piece, the piece that's being kept, is approximately 150 hectares in size, and it's used for agriculture. So this application is also being heard in conjunction with B9222 at the same time at the Land Division Committee. So the severance has been circulated to municipal staff. The key thing that I want to address is that Water Department did mention that the owner is in the process of installing another water service. So there's no concerns from the Water Department because they've already started that discussion because the two houses that were on the property were serviced by one feeder. Again, I'm not going to go through the policies other than with the zoning as a condition of zoning. And this is a standard condition that is applied that the severed parcel will be rezoned to an RS zone to permit non-farm residential uses. And then the retained farm or retained parcel will be rezoned to an agricultural A2 zone to prohibit any new residential uses. And so some of the new members of council, the purpose of that is that the PPS requires that no new residential uses be permitted, that the property be frozen. And the applicants are always aware of that. So administration supports this and recommends that council approve the LDC requirements with those conditions, and those conditions will be sent to them for their final approval. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Doesn't appear to be any questions from council. So Tara, if you want to go ahead with the motion to accept the report.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Application for Severance E8822 28800 Aberdeen Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, Carl McLeod and Sons Limited, dated January 11th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich recommends approval to the Land Division Committee of the County of Elgin for proposed severance application E8822 for 28800 Aberdeen Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, provided the following conditions are included. A, that a zoning bylaw amendment is in force and effect for the severed and retained parcels. B, that septic system review for the severed parcel has been completed. C, that municipal drain reapportionments have been completed. D, that a mutual drainage agreement under Section 2 or 4 of the Drainage Act has been provided to provide a legal drainage outlet for the newly created residential lot. E, that 2 hard copies and 1 digital copy of the registered survey have been provided to the municipality. F, that taxes are to be paid in full. G, that all Dutton Dunwich planning application fees set out in the fees bylaw be paid to the municipality. H, that a 911 sign be established for the severed and retained parcels. I, that all barns capable of holding livestock or are in disrepair on both the retained and severed lands be removed or decommissioned to the satisfaction of the chief building official. J, that the applicant confirms with the municipality that they are a bona fide farmer. And K, that the solicitor provides an undertaking that a copy of the registered deed for the severed parcel, once the transaction has occurred, will be provided to the municipality. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, we'll go on to the next application E92 Planner Tracy, if you'd like to review that report.
Yes, thank you very much. So this application is actually the house right next door to the property that we just dealt with at 28786 Aberdeen Line. So the application mirrors very similarly. That again, the shared water line will be separated, and that this particular property will have the very similar conditions, and that all other regulations do comply. So I'll leave it as that, and happy to answer any questions.
No questions from council? I should have asked last time, the applicant's here. Does he want to make any comments? No, it's fine. I guess, Tara, if you want to go ahead with the motion to accept the report.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Application for Severance E9222 28786 Aberdeen Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, Carl McLeod and Sons Limited, dated January 11th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
You might as well go ahead with the other motion as well.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Droulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich recommends approval to the Land Division Committee of the County of Elgin for proposed severance application E9222 for 28786 Aberdeen Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, provided the following conditions are included. A, that a new water service be installed to the satisfaction of the municipality. B, that a zoning bylaw amendment is in force and effect for the severed and retained parcels. C, that septic system review for the severed parcel has been completed. D, that municipal drain reapportionments have been completed. E, that a mutual drainage agreement under Section 2 or 4 of the Drainage Act has been provided to provide a legal drainage outlet for the newly created residential lot. F, that 2 hard copies and 1 digital copy of the registered survey have been provided to the municipality. G, that taxes are to be paid in full. H, that all Dutton Dunwich planning application fees set out in the fees bylaw be paid to the municipality. I, that a 911 sign be established for the severed and retained parcels. J, that all barns capable of holding livestock or are in disrepair on both the retained and severed lands be removed or decommissioned to the satisfaction of the chief building official. K, that the applicant confirms with the municipality that they are a bona fide farmer. And L, that the solicitor provides an undertaking that a copy of the registered deed for the severed parcel, once the transaction has occurred, will be provided to the municipality. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, I guess we're on to application E100/22. Tracy, I'll let you present your report on that.
Thank you very much. So this property is located at 31492 Pioneer Line and 31556 Pioneer Line, and in addition, some vacant land located on the north side of Pioneer Line. So the applicant, again, has submitted a application, and there are some support studies that were included in this submission. One is a planning justification report prepared by Zelenko Priamo, and there was a cover letter as well, because there is some sort of it is a little tricky and on this one, because there is some farm parcel consolidation and holdings moving around. So hopefully that helped too, because it was attached to the report. The purpose of this particular application is to request severance to create a farm lot, or it's also known as a farm split. The owners have also indicated today in writing that they are going to have to apply for an easement for the solar panel, because the solar panel will cross later on. You'll see in the application that their surplus dwelling lot will be created and the solar panels are in behind. So the severed parcel will have an area of 41.214 hectares in area, and it'll be used for agriculture, and the residential is on that piece now. The retained parcel will be 68.489 hectares, and it's used for agriculture. So you'll see that it's a series of a bunch of farms that will be consolidated, and then it'll be split where you'll see the line in the sketch. The application is also being heard with the next one, B10122. So it's important to know that they move together. This was circulated with municipal staff. There were no concerns. It is supported, farm splits by the county OP, the PPS, and the Dutton Dunwich official plan. Specifically with the zoning, the property is currently zoned in two zones, A2-12 and an A1 zone. So the A2-12 specifically permitted a lot area of a minimum of 40 hectares, which they will be able to comply with. So as a condition of severance, a zoning amendment will be required to rezone both the severed and the retained parcels. So a portion of the retained parcels will then be added to that A2-12 to prohibit any new residential uses, and it'll maintain that 40 hectare farm size. And then the surplus dwelling on the next application will be rezoned RS. So looking at those regulations, they do comply, and administration does agree with the planning justification report analysis. So administration does recommend that this be considered for approval, and the conditions that will be read by the clerk will be submitted to land division. So happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions, council? I see the property owner and the proposed purchaser are here. Do they have any comments they'd like to make this time? No. Okay, if not, Tara, can you go ahead and pass the resolution to adopt the report?
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Application for Severance E122, 31492 Pioneer Line, 31556 Pioneer Line, and vacant land located on the north side of Pioneer Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, David Harold and Mary Helen Durham, dated January 11th, 2023, for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
And you might go ahead with the next resolution as well.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich recommends approval to the Land Division Committee of the County of Elgin for proposed severance application E122 for 31492 Pioneer Line, 31556 Pioneer Line, and vacant land located on the north side of Pioneer Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, provided the following conditions are included. A, that a zoning bylaw amendment is in force and effect for the severed and retained parcels. B, that the municipal drain reapportionments have been completed. C, that a mutual drainage agreement under Section 2 or 4 of the Drainage Act has been provided to provide a legal drainage outlet for the newly created residential lot. D, that 2 hard copies and 1 digital copy of the registered survey have been provided to the municipality. E, that taxes are to be paid in full. F, that all Dutton Dunwich planning applications fees set out in the fees bylaw be paid to the municipality. G, that a 911 sign be established for the severed and retained parcels. And H, that the solicitor provides an undertaking that a copy of the registered deed for the severed parcel, once the transaction has occurred, will be provided to the municipality. All in favor? And that's carried.
One more, I guess. Planner Tracy, I'll let you go ahead and give your report for severance E101.
Thank you very much. Yes, there were a lot of backlogs from the Land Division Committee that are going to be heard at the February hearing. So I appreciate everybody's patience going through these. So this particular application, now that you consider the farm split into 2, now we're just dealing with 1 farm split located at 31556 Pioneer Line. So this particular application is for a surplus dwelling parcel of land. Again, an easement will be required for the solar panel. The severed parcel will be 1.214 hectares in size. and it's used for residential. It has one house and an accessory structure. It's connected to municipal water and private septic system. There's also a pond located in the back of the severed parcel. The proposed retain will have 40 hectares in size, and it'll be used for agriculture. And again, the proposed will be to consolidate all of the holdings into its one farm operation once the purchasers purchase the land. And then it should be reviewed with B 122. The application has been circulated to staff. There were no concerns. It is surplus dwellings are supported by all of the policies. And again, that A2-12 will be used for the retained parcel, and the severed parcel will be rezoned R2, RS, sorry. Now, one thing about this is that the maximum lot area, now this is brand new to our zoning bylaw. We didn't have this before, but we had a maximum lot area to match with what the land division committee matches, so that they try to encourage all of the properties to be around 2 acres in size. So the application for the severed lot does comply with the minimum, but the maximum is 8,093 square meters, and this particular proposed lot is 12,139.99 square meters. Now, relief is required, and that will be addressed during the zoning bylaw, but I wanted to make sure council was aware that administration supports this. The pond is in the back, which is sort of causing the lot to be deeper, and the pond is not farmable, so it would have no negative impact on the flexibility and productivity of the farmland. We're not losing any farmland by adding that extra land in the back. So we do recommend that the relief be added when they come in for their zoning bylaw amendment application. And administration agrees with the justification set out in that PJR. And we do recommend that council approve this as well. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Do the owners want to make any comments or anything?
Side of the lot, I bought a barn in 62. 6 years ago. The pond was there, barns were there, house was there. Basically, a lot of them changed here. I don't know how. Prior to that, I was helping build all buildings were there. Basic outline a lot. Wow.
Thanks, Dave. No further comments from council. Okay, Tara, I guess if you want to do the resolution to adopt the planner's report.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Application for Severance E10122 31556 Pioneer Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, David Harold Durham, dated January 11th, 2023 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
And go ahead with the next resolution as well.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Droulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich recommends approval to the Land Division Committee of the County of Elgin for proposed severance application E10122 for 31556 Pioneer Line, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, provided the following conditions are included. A, that a zoning bylaw amendment is in force and effect for the severed and retained parcels. B, that a septic system review for the severed parcel has been completed. C, that municipal drain reapportionments have been completed. D, that a mutual drainage agreement under Section 2 or 4 of the Drainage Act has been provided to provide a legal drainage outlet for the newly created residential lot. That 2 hard copies and 1 digital copy of the registered survey have been provided to the municipality. F, that taxes are to be paid in full. G, that all Dutton Dunwich planning application fees set out in the fees bylaw be paid to the municipality. H, that a 911 sign be established for the severed and retained parcels. I, that all barns capable of holding livestock or are in disrepair on both the retained and severed lands be removed or decommissioned to the satisfaction of the chief building official. J, that the applicant confirms that with the municipality that they are a bona fide farmer. And K, that the solicitor provides an undertaking that a copy of the registered deed for the severed parcel, once the transaction has occurred, will be provided to the municipality. All in favor? And that's carried.
We'll try and finish up with planning and then we'll take a break if council's okay with that. Don't want to hold Tracy forever. And then we had one more add-on from Deputy Mayor Loveland as well, Tracy. So go ahead with your comments on F, licensing for shelters and group homes. And I know we've kicked this can down the road a number of times, and let's hope we can make some decisions here tonight. Tracy, you go ahead.
Thank you very much. So let me give you a little bit of background. What we're doing today is we're asking you to receive this information and give staff some direction on how you want to proceed with a licensing bylaw, which we will come back with at the next council meeting, either as is or with adjustments. I do confirm I've received some comments already on some wording, which we can certainly review and include into the next bylaw, depending on the direction of council. So again, with the background, so at the time of the zoning bylaw amendment comprehensive review, we were discussing group homes and shelters, and it came up that there was also a need for licensing. So back in September of 2022, council directed me to go ahead and proceed with the zoning bylaw amendment comprehensive review, but leave out group homes and shelters and the licensing of them, and bring that back separately so that council can have an opportunity to just analyze and assess those uses and how you would like to see them in your community. So that was done, and the zoning bylaw was approved. No appeals were received. So what's new in our zoning bylaw is now shelters have a definition where they didn't before. So group homes are considered like a single housekeeping with multiple people because we can't people zone. So we don't need to worry about if they're related or not. It's just a group of people, and it's usually licensed or sponsored by someone like a community living organization. And a shelter is more of an emergency temporary accommodation where there's a situation that you might have some refugees that need a place, or homeless people in a crisis situation like cold snap in the wintertime, where you need to convert an existing structure for the temporary housing. Those are commonly churches, schools, community centers, and so on. So the group homes, specifically in the zoning bylaw, this is the way it read before, was that their group homes are permitted anywhere a single detached dwelling is permitted in the municipality, because essentially it doesn't really matter who's inside. It's got to look like a single family detached dwelling. They're not permitted in hazard lands or floodplains. Now with shelters, they're now newly permitted anywhere a single detached dwelling is permitted, and institutional uses, except for in hazard lands and flood and erosion areas. And now there are some parking requirements for both group homes and shelters. So that sort of completes what has now been further added to the zoning bylaw, and that has been now decisions been set out, the notices, the appeal period, and no appeals have been received. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about licensing. So prior, like the Mayor Hentz mentioned, we've kicked this around a couple times on the licensing part of it. Originally, council directed to license both shelters and group homes. And after some public consultation, it was recommended that, you know, because shelters are more of a quick reaction, temporary, addresses a certain situation, we should not license them. After some additional research with administration, the fire chief, the building department, they felt that there are already some really good triggers in place, because a shelter is most likely funded or sponsored by another organization, and they're going to have their checklists as well. So for health and safety of the shelter, administration does support the request of council of pulling that out. So right now we're just dealing with just group homes, and it was the direction of council that the bylaw be brought back with group homes only, no shelters, limit the complaint portion of the bylaw, and include inspections to ensure safety for group homes. So the purpose of this particular report is now just to get you to give me some comments on just licensing group homes. So just a little bit of a reminder as well, when we're drafting these type of bylaws, again, we can't zone or license people. What we need to do is just license the safety and the protection of those uses. So we can address things like garbage pickup, snow removal, health and safety standards, you know, caving roofs and so on, and parking. So based on the comments that council had provided, our revised draft licensing bylaw has now been provided to you, which was attached to this report. So in summary, the draft bylaw includes only group homes. Shelters are no longer included. Based on discussions with municipal staff, there are current inspection protocols in place for shelters, so we're okay with that. The complaint portion of the bylaw has been limited. So there's no longer an appeal committee, and there's no longer an appeal process. If there's a complaint, we send a bylaw enforcement officer out immediately or within a certain period of time. They go in, they check, they find out what the problem is, and they try to address it right away. Inspections are also included, and there's an associated fee with those inspections, which will allow an opportunity to ensure the group homes are safe. The fees itself over the last few versions of the bylaw have actually been reduced, because what we just want to do is some sort of cost recovery. And administration feels that what's drafted in the fees are enough to be able to at least start off with your program. So in conclusion, administration is seeking some direction from council on the approval of the revised group home licensing only. We do feel that there is merit of licensing bylaws to ensure group homes are safe. However, council should be aware that this is going to take some additional staff resources to implement. And if approved, the next step will be that we'll bring that bylaw back for your final passing at the next meeting. And then we will submit for the offenses list with the Ministry of the Attorney General for approval prior to any enforcement. And I think that is all I wanted to highlight for you today. Happy to answer any questions. And I can also read out any of those comments that Councillor Pepperton did provide me, or he can do it himself. I'm not sure how you wanted to handle that.
Any questions from council? Yeah, Councillor Dreyfus.
Thanks for the report. I think it's a really good report, and I appreciate the changes that were made to it. One question I have is who's responsible for inspections? Would that be the CBO that would manage that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So it depends on what the inspection will be for. We most likely will see that we'll be having multiple inspections. So the fire chief will be involved, the CBO will be involved, the health unit will be involved as well. So the definition in the bylaw, it's considered officer. So that is very flexible. We could even have officer, which is currently defined as a police, in case there was a matter of behavior that could also have an inspection as well. So we've banked it in so that we would we would include all of those departments, as well as planning. We would ensure that we do comply with the zoning bylaw with respect to parking and location and use. So those will all be included as part of the licensing application process.
Yeah, go ahead.
One other question, with regards to the fees. Looking at the bylaw, you have recommended $100 for a licensing fee, and I believe it was $50 for an inspection fee, if I understand correctly. Just doing a little bit of research, I know the numbers are all over the place, but I really personally feel that's a bit low for what we're expected to do in the administrative responsibilities. So I would like to consider raising the fees of both. I don't even think we could send a building inspector into a building for $50. I don't think it's the right number. So just doing a little bit of research, I've seen a licensing fee as much as $250. And nothing really stands out as far as an inspection fee, but I would think it should be in excess of $100 to have an inspection fee, or even more. You're using up 2 hours of time, and I don't think our building inspector or an inspector would work for $50 an hour. So I'm just making that recommendation to council.
Any other comments? Yeah, go ahead. Councillor Pemberton.
Thanks, Mayor Hens. Yeah, Tracy, the comments I made were more just recommendations. So I think when you bring the bylaw back, or before you bring the bylaw back, if we wanted to have a little chat, I think they were pretty self-explanatory. So I don't think we really need to discuss too many of them today. I would agree with Henry about the fees. You could even look at your minimum building permit fee as an inspection fee. That's typically the lowest a building inspector would go out for. There's a bit of plans review and preparation, and then you go out and do a quick inspection. So even if we looked at something, I'm not sure what Dutton's minimum permit fee is, but if you looked at something more to correspond with that, that might line up a little better with a cost recovery basis.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I confirm that I am in receipt of those comments, and they are very technical in nature, and I agree with everything. They were really great suggestions. They were just pinpointing and making the bylaw even better. So I will incorporate all of those changes into the next version.
Yeah, Councillor Dryfoot.
Thank you. Do we have any group homes registered in our municipality right now? Thank you.
Not to our knowledge. And I guess that was one of the points with the license. We want to know where these facilities are in the municipality. We want to know for safety reasons. Nothing really more than that. And I agree with both Councillor Dryfout and Councillor Pemberton. The fees are low, but we also had delegations here looking for a zero fee on this thing, just for some background. So I just want to provide them comments that there was quite a discussion about group homes and shelters. Councillor Drew.
Yeah, just for point of clarification, those fees they were asking for zero were for shelters. They weren't for group homes, which are business operation. So that's just a point for clarification. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Tracy, do you have enough to go with? And I hope we can put this thing to rest. We'll look at the fees.
I will submit a red line version of the revised bylaw to you for your next meeting. I most likely will not have an accompanying report, but we'll see what the changes look like and we can adjust that at the time.
Okay, council has had a chance to go through the draft closely. So I guess those are your marching orders, Tracy. We hope to see the final product next council meeting. Is that fair?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, that is the plan, to bring something to you for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. And while you're still here, Tracy, there was an addition to the agenda, and Deputy Mayor Loveland had something he wanted to discuss with you. Go ahead.
I've been receiving calls on where we are with our short-term rental public meeting, and I guess I'm at a bit at a loss in how to answer those. It's been quite a while since we've passed that bylaw, and I know we've finally got the schedule of fines passed, so I think they're looking for some indication if we're going to move ahead with that or not. There are more of those short-term rentals happening, not so much at Daytona Beach but out in the country even, and some of those aren't going to be a problem because there's no one close by. But if we're going to do a licensing and bylaw, I think we have promised those people, we either have to tell them we're not going to do it or get it done, one or the other.
Through
Yeah,
you,
go
Mr.
ahead, Tracy. Where are we at on that?
Yes, thank you very much. To respond to Deputy Mayor Loveland's question. So as soon as those provincial offenses were approved, we had a meeting with myself, the CAO and the clerk and our bylaw enforcement officer. Ed and Tom was not able to attend unless I got those two mixed up. I think it was Ed and Tom was missing, right? So what we did is we discussed with them, because they are going to be our key boots on the ground with respect to enforcement. So what we did is we discussed with them the strategy of communication as part of that public information session that council asked us to do. So that's step one. We wanted to discuss with them how we would approach that. And then step two, we needed to talk to them about enforcement strategies. Whether we do a blanket enforcement for the ones that we are aware of, or if we sort of do some small batches at a time, and then also include a licensing process, right? And we talked about how those applications and that information is going to be sent out to the public, and how much time we're going to need to give people to come in for a license voluntarily before we go out and try to recruit them for their license. So that meeting was held in November, and of course the holidays got in the way. So I did do a follow-up with Ed and Thomas this morning, and I'm just waiting for them to get back to me so that we can regroup and exactly set out how we're going to play this forward. Because I think it's very important that we do this succinctly and professionally, because as council is aware, there is most likely going to be pushback and possibly charges, and that will bring us to court. So we want to be very, very careful that we do this correctly, and that we've given everybody an opportunity to at least voluntarily come in first. So happy to answer any questions, or if the CAO or clerk would like to add anything, that'd be great.
Anything further from council? Just I wasn't clear on a timeline, Tracy.
We're not clear on a timeline either. Like I mentioned, we've been waiting for the bylaw enforcement officer to advise us on how we're going to put this all together. We really are going to rely on their experience and like the key wording and who should be at the public information session and how the letters should go out and what they would look like. So we're waiting for them to give us a strategy on how we're going to do this. And as I mentioned, I followed up with them today, so I'm hoping that we can regroup in the next couple of weeks. And if they are ready, we could do a public information session as early spring.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Loveland, are you okay with that?
I think we could probably give you better dates once tenant gets back to us, and then we can give you an update on those timelines.
I get the call.
Yeah.
For counselors that haven't been around this table before, this is quite a contentious issue, as you can imagine. So the due diligence is required. These things are moving slow, but we want to get it right, not just get it done. Anything else for planning? You're excused, Tracy. Thank you very much. I suggest we take a short break. We've been sitting here an hour and a half. If council agrees. Okay. Good thing I got Tara. She makes me look smarter than I actually am. She is that, but that's okay. We'll go on with 11 correspondence. Any comments or questions? What the fire department did the day of that accident was above and beyond the call of duty. And a lot of people recognize that, and this is an example of their thank you. And we don't hear enough of that. They go about doing their job, and it's well deserved. And I think certainly this council and the municipality owes them a big thank you. Dutton Dunwich reputation went up in spades that day for what they did, and people do appreciate it. Is there any other comments? Will Clerk Tara, resolution on this?
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that correspondence item 13A from Robin Mohapatra be received and filed. All in favor? And that's carried.
B, Elgin Group Police Services Board, a request for increased speeding fines. Any comments on that one? Yeah.
It's a very broad letter. I mean, obviously, we don't know what the speed fines are going to be, so I'm just throwing that out there. It's just that the letter is broad, and we'll just have to wait and see what comes out of it, I guess, right? So.
Yeah. And I think it's every municipality, I think in Ontario, and everybody I talk to has got the same thing. You know, in Dutton Dunwich, we've lowered, I don't know how many speed limits in all the villages and some in town, and it still continues to be a problem. So I think our police services have recognized that, and they've certainly heard about it. And the OPP have heard about it. It's a priority in here. So I think we just throw everything out there and hope something sticks. Clerk Tara?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dreyfus, that correspondence item 11B from the Elgin Group Police Services Board be received and filed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Bill 109, More Homes for Everyone Act 2022, an update. Oh, she is still here. Thank you, Tracy, because I didn't want to attempt to answer any questions on this one. Does council have any questions about this? I'm seeing none, Tracy. You have any comments you want to make?
Just one comment. So the refund section of Bill 109 was supposed to start January 1st. It technically still has, but the letter that you received said that the minister is trying to push for July 1st start. So we are not going to start the clock ticking for any applications that will be required refund, or we won't issue any refunds until we know for sure. But we are hoping that it will be delayed until July 1st, because this is going to give us some time to sort of practice and get a new protocol started. We've started as administration to work out some of the steps. And actually, the key to being able to address some of the refund issues or avoiding them is to spend more time with developers during pre-consultation. So that will be a way that we'll do more work up front. And then once an application is deemed complete, then we should be able to hit those targets. So I just want to make sure that council understood that we are working on this and that we're hoping for that July 1st start.
Anything from council? I think it's fair to say the government got ahead of themselves on this act and possibly Bill 23, and they're reconsidering some things.
Yes, that's my understanding as well, is that they are still kind of double backing on a lot of items, and there could be some last minute changes.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Tara?
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Drulard, that correspondence item 11C from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing be received and filed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Township of Warwick, the CN Railway contribution requirements under the Drainage Act and impacts on municipal drain infrastructure in Ontario. I kind of wish Brent had stuck around for this one, but any questions we could, or you can present them to Brent, just send him an email. This is a huge problem. I don't know about Canada, but I think it is, but certainly Ontario. They just don't want to pay for drainage improvements that cross their property. So I think in a lot of these CN, it's a federal jurisdiction. So we need to lobby and push provincially and federally. Somebody's got to get the attention of the railroads to pay their fair share on these things. We don't have any active railroads through here, through Dutton Dunwich, but you still run into it with Brent sees it right now. And it's to the point of being ridiculous. But anyway, it's a work in progress, and we'll keep lobbying for, I think the federal government has to step in on this one. So Clerk Tara, go ahead.
I will just add that we have supported and sent off this information previously to Karen Vecchio and Rob Flack. It was just, there was more information on this resolution, so it was brought to council's attention.
Yeah.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Loveland, that correspondence item 11D from the Township of Warwick be received and filed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Municipality of Tweed, a request to regulate natural gas bill costs. Now, I know where Tweed is. It's a small town north of Peterborough. Brother-in-law used to live there, so I visited that place quite often. A nice village. Good luck on this one, but any comments from council? Clerk Tara?
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dreyfus, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the municipality of Tweed petitioning the Ontario Energy Board to regulate natural gas bill costs to levels that are affordable and profitable as in jurisdictions within Ontario that have lower costs, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Karen Vecchio MP, Rob Flack MPP, and the municipality of Tweed. All in favor? And that's carried.
F, Harold G. Elston Code of Conduct complaint against Councillor Corneal. Everyone received the letter from Harold Elston. Any questions?
I'm not familiar with the complaint at all, so I'm no comment. So
No other comments? Clerk Tara?
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Pemberton, that that correspondence item 11F from Harold G. Elston be received and filed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, F. Forever Wild Rehabilitation, canine distemper virus in wildlife. Any comments on that? Seeing none, Tara?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drulard, that correspondence item 11G from Forever Wild Rehabilitation be received and filed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Graham Scott Enns, LLP, Audit Planning and Engagement. Everybody had a chance to go through that document. I guess this maybe is more for Tracy to deal with. Any comments?
No, it's just their standard paperwork that they sign before they start the audit and how they're, and it lays out how their timelines and things like that. So
Okay. Clerk Tara?
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Loveland, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich directs the mayor to execute the engagement letter and planning letter from Graham Scott Enns for the municipal audit. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, the consent agenda. There is 1, 2, 3.
Mayor Hens, would you like me to close the correspondence?
Please do that.
All right.
I
Moved
was-
by
I was
Loveland,
gonna get right to that.
moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that relevant correspondence was reviewed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Everybody needs a clerk. The consent agenda. Any council member want to talk about any one of these items? Councillor Drulard.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. From the correspondence from Lanark County Violence Against Women Refuge Services, did we support something like this in the past, Tara? We did not. I felt like we had.
Is there something further you'd like to see in that regard?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, are they looking for us to support this?
There was no direction for support in the resolution, but we could put something together if that's where you would like to go.
I'm okay if we leave it. If we do receive more correspondence on this, I wouldn't mind looking at it again. It is something that's important. It's violence against women and intimate partner violence. So, personally, I would support it wholeheartedly. So, but just maybe we can watch for more correspondence. Maybe something that gives us a little more meat to support. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other issues? Councillor Dreyfus.
Just in reference to the Elgin County Economic Development newsletter that they sent out through email contact. We're starting the similar approach in our economic development as well. So you're gonna be seeing that on a monthly basis. So just informing you, I like the format. It's informative and it keeps everybody in the loop of what's going on specifically for our municipality. So expect to see that from us as well in the future. So.
Okay, thank you. The county runs into the same issues that we do. People keep asking, we didn't know, or we're not being informed. So I just want to stress that we're not alone in that. They're struggling to get the information out there in the right form at the right time. So and you know the people at the county that I'm sure you're working closely with them now.
Yes, we are. And I really like the direction at this time the county has taken with Delaney and with Carolyn Caron as well. And they're really keeping us up to speed on everything that's going on. And I believe one of their next items on the agenda is to actually form a county-wide economic development committee. So we all have input into economic development in general, into direction of local municipalities, which I'm actually encouraging because I think it's beneficial for all of us to be a part of that. And I also really believe that it's better use of county funds the way they're doing it, because I really felt that a lot of the money was going to a dead hole, to be honest with you. So I think I like the direction that they're going in right at the moment. So
Thank you for that. And they do have a great group down there heading this up at the county. Anything further on the consent agenda? I don't see anything. Clerk Tara?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dreyfus, that the items on the consent agenda be approved. All in favor? And that's carried.
We have one committee report. Any comments, questions on that? Councillor Dreyfus is now council representative on that. I had been on it since its inception. Very much enjoyed working with that group, and I think they're quite effective and they've accomplished a lot, even through COVID. So I wish them all the best in the future. The Executive Assistance Report. The work boot reimbursement policy. Any questions from council? Seeing none, Clerk Tara?
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report from the executive assistant titled Work Boot Reimbursement Policy dated January 11th, 2023 for information, and that council approves policy number F&A 1017 Safety Work Boots Reimbursement Policy. All in favor? And that's carried.
And B, the cyber security policy. This is certainly a hot topic. Discussed at length at County Council. As everyone knows, they had an attack in the spring, and it can be devastating. I know the county is working on how to handle their IT. So I'm hoping that that is shared with their municipal partners, whatever direction the county chooses to go. Possibly we can tag team with them on IT. I'm just throwing that out there that we need to work closely with them because I think they've certainly learned a lesson, thought they had all their ducks in a row, and look what happened. And I know Councillor McPhail had told me they received a report about 2 weeks prior to the attack that they were good. Everything's in place. We're solid. Within 2 weeks, it happened. So it's something we really have to be careful of, and we need to all get ourselves educated on cybersecurity. We have laptops and phones at home using our Wi-Fi and everything else, and I'm no expert on it, but I'm trying to get educated. So, Clerk Tara.
Moved by
Yes, certainly.
sorry, I don't mean to, but I was yesterday, I was at the water safety course as well, and they said there has been 7 attacks in Ontario in the past year on their water chlorination system. So it's something we really need to be aware of because it's, you run into a water problem throughout the municipality, you have some serious problems. So I think, Mayor Hance, in regard to your statement, we do need to become educated and be really aware of what's going on, and our staff needs to follow the rules to comply with whatever the standard that you've set forward. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for them comments.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Drouillard, that the Council of Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the Executive Assistant titled Cybersecurity Policy dated January 11th, 2023 for information, and that Council approves policy number A39, 2023 Cybersecurity Policy. All in favor? And that's carried.
Yeah, I just want to, I would like you know, we're working really hard in our Economic Development Committee to stress how important culture is in our community, and that we, as you said earlier, we show gratitude to people that go over and above the, you know, their call of duty. And I really personally feel that we should do more of that, acknowledge service clubs or acknowledge individuals in our community that stand out on occasion, that do exceptional things. And I feel that it's worthy of us noting that the Optimist Club did a phenomenal job at the Christmas event. They spent hours installing Christmas lights, trying to make our town special and attract and draw people. So I personally feel that we should acknowledge them in writing, thanking them for their efforts and that they contributed to something special in our community. I don't know I think everybody was here that night, and you know, we had thousands of people on the street, and the acknowledgement that they, you know, we truly respect their involvement in the community. And a personal letter, in my opinion, from our municipality would probably maybe even heal some wounds here that we don't want to linger on. So that's just my advice to council, and I hope you would consider that. So
We need to do more. The question becomes, how do we do it? What's the proper vehicle to express? Is it a letter from all the council? We struggle with this quite often, so we're open to suggestions.
I would just keep it real simple, and an acknowledgement from the municipality of Dutton Dunwich that we appreciate their efforts, and you made our community special for that week. So just something as simple as that. I don't think it has to be, and it could even be signed by the mayor. Not necessarily has to be, but I think it's just an acknowledgement that we recognize that you've done something for us. So
I agree. There are other items and other folks that we are working on with a big thank you concerning the shelter that we had to put up. But please bring these. Sometimes we don't mean to, but sometimes this gets forgotten, and it shouldn't. So let's keep it on the front burner. Under new business, we have an OPP meeting update and a community policing committee verbal update. I think maybe was part of that the meeting that we had with Inspector Lucas. Do you want to address that one, Tracy? Or
It was on December 14th. I believe we had a meeting at the Elgin County office of the OPP with Inspector Lucas and Holmes. And we just kind of went over the amount of presence they have here, and we'd like to see more of them around so that people know they're here, considering what we pay them every year. We went over the speeding on especially number 3. I guess there's somebody goes through there every morning, like probably late for work. So, and it's
Same
every
people.
morning. So it was a good meeting, and they do, they appreciate us coming, and they did say they'd like to come and speak to us again. They like to give presentations, and they like to keep their stats and data. So I did forward them the stats we're getting from our speed sign, which they appreciated. But of course, it's always when they're around, you don't get any speeders, of course, right? So I don't know, there was much else. It was a good meeting. They did say they would try and get their presence here more.
I may expand just a bit on that. The one thing we talked about was he wasn't aware of some complaints. So if someone complains into the 911 not call number, sometimes there isn't a response if they don't have an officer. So he actually was adamant that if we had a concern, to make sure was aware of it directly, so that
Yeah, he
he
did.
would work on it
yeah,
and follow it up.
Yeah, he
So-
did say that every other municipality, he had documented complaints and he did not have one from Dutton Dunwich. So we're obviously calling the wrong spot or, yeah.
So that's good to know that he is willing to answer his phone, and I'm sure he will follow it up. And we did talk very briefly about getting a community policing committee going again. We have had them in the past and it's kind of died out, but we're still low on crime out here, even though when it happens, you wonder. But so that's something we may want to work on as time goes on, and maybe if we have some public meetings that budget even, that's something we may want to talk a bit about.
I did ask if he'd be willing to come to my budget open houses, just to have his little table there with, because it's a big chunk of our budget and people want to know what their taxes are paying for, right? So, thanks for that reminder. I sent him a day with the dates.
Councillor Goulart?
Just one question. Is there any way, and maybe we already do it, I looked, but I didn't see it, and that doesn't mean it's not there, that we get the non-emergency number out there on a more, because a lot of people don't know the non-emergency number. There's a non-emergency number, so if it's not like something that you should be calling 911 for, you can call the non-emergency number, and then that gets flagged and they will see it. They don't always get 911 calls, but they always get those non-emergency. They always get a report on those. So if we could get those numbers out there somehow, even on our website or our socials, whatever we do, perhaps that's one way to educate the public to use that non-emergency number. Like, if you think it's suspicious, you should call the non-emergency number and have them, so they can make a note of it. And sometimes I think it's the amount of education we give folks, because it's like, oh, well, I'm not calling 911, but they don't know about the non-emergency number. And I don't know what it is. I know it's a 1-800 number, but it's if we can get that out there and some information around it, I'm sure that the local OPP would support us in doing that. So
I
just a
believe
suggestion.
there are cards down in the office here with that information, if I'm not mistaken. So it's right in front of us, and yet we don't know it. And that's the problem with getting information out there. So whatever suggestions, we'll take them.
And I believe at one point in time, we may have had some fridge magnets. And I mean, wouldn't that be cool if we could get them to make those for us so that we could get them out to folks, right? Right. Yeah, and I think at one time they were out. Well, I know I used to live in St. Thomas at one point in time, so it might have been when I lived in St. Thomas, but I'm sure they have them. It's just a matter of asking. So, however, we can get that information out to folks, like, Tara always does a great job with the, she does the emergency setup and at different events. If they can get it out there for her, she could.
Nothing wrong
send
with
it.
doing like a blitz. If you see something, here's the number kind of thing, right? If you see something, say something, or something along those lines.
It was a very positive meeting. And out of that, we got his personal email, or Inspector Lucas. And I used it shortly after that when we had that incident in the park with some young people. And I sent him an email about 11 o'clock that night to Inspector Lucas, and he responded by 6 a.m. stating that you will see increased police presence in Dutton Dunwich. So he's a man of his word. We just need to figure this out. And I'll just make one more comment on that. John Marleitner is a great Wallacestown citizen. He sees things. And he was telling me about a speeder that regularly comes through Wallacestown. He claims going 100 kilometers an hour. He might be right. And I asked John, have you reported it? Yes, I have. At that meeting, there's 0 reports from Dutton Dunwich. So obviously, John hasn't got the right information, or that call is going somewhere that it's not getting paid attention to. So that made it real for me that I know people are attempting to make contact, but they're just not getting the message through.
Would be a good thing to have. I
Is-
don't think you want to bother them with every little thing.
No, no.
Something like the park issue that was big enough to need to be dealt with.
Yeah.
We should all have that information.
His email, well, it would be on our system, I'm quite sure.
Yep.
Yep, good. I believe Charlotte has taken a look at the community policing thing, or have we had a discussion?
Well, when she started, I did bring it to her attention that that needed to get going. I don't know that she's had time to get on that yet, but it's, it hasn't been forgotten by us, but it's just getting it going again, so.
We'll take a look at it again. Any other new business?
We-
Oh, yeah.
We had an arena board meeting this morning and it was kind of, the meeting got postponed in December. We didn't have a quorum and we just had 3 today. So we kind of went over the budget and where we're headed and kind of where we are financially from last year. So the bad news in a way is that our share of the operating deficit is going to increase fairly significantly. There's a lot more users from Dutton Dunwich than there was in previous years. So most of the growth that we saw in minor hockey is our residents, which wasn't really a big surprise. And we look at that every year. So it's probably something that may continue for a while. So we had a good year last year. We actually didn't spend quite as much money as we had anticipated. Our allocation was nearly $90,000. We're going to be about 82, so we've got about $7,000 there, which doesn't seem like a lot, but we've also put an additional 40,000 into the reserve for dehumidifier that we've been working on. So that's good. The budget as it was presented, and we've had a pretty good increase in ice usage. They really have had more hours that the arena was used, which is a good sign. Now, of course, whatever happens with West Warren Minor Hockey, that's going to happen in the next month or so, may affect us a little bit. But anyways, going back to the budget, they brought a budget forward that we were going to put in a further $60,000 into the dehumidifier reserve. But that was going to put our allocation up from 89,000 to 108,000. So what we did is we dropped that contribution down from 60,000 to 40,000. That would bring our share down to 99,804. It's still a 10% increase, but I don't think there's any way around it when we look at the increased usage. Their contribution, of course, dropped significantly because the use is down, but that's just the formula we have. It could change another year. So I didn't get that till after the meeting started today. So I don't know. We don't really need to approve it tonight, I guess. They want to get their budget going, of course, but kind of just letting you know where we're at there. It's been kind of a positive year there after COVID finally. So I don't know if anybody had any questions on that, and I don't know if you want to do a resolution tonight or wait.
Councillor Dreyfus?
Just a quick question. Deputy Mayor Loveland. The rental or outside rentals from outside the community, St. Thomas, AAA, have they increased this year at all, or do you know? And also the second part to my question is that I do know this for a fact that our rental rates are substantially cheaper than most arenas. So it might be something the arena board could look at. You know, I know, for example, Kamoka is in excess of almost $300 an hour, where our rates are, I don't know, I'm just to around 200. So I personally think there's some room there, you know, just for outside revenue. That's just my comment, so.
We, when we look at arena usage fees, every couple of years, we do a comparison and look at where we are at. I mean, you don't want to be the highest, but you don't want to be the lowest either. And you're right, some of the larger centers are considerably more than we are. We're probably very much in line with the Dresdens and Southwest Middlesex and those type of users, Port Stanley. So yeah, we have had, we did rent some ice time to the AAA team this year, not as much as they wanted. We just didn't have it, which is a good thing, I guess. But yeah, because 3 years ago we were trying to find people, and this year we actually turned them away. So it's good, but. So that's something I'll put together the council package. I'll get it on the agenda next time, but it gives you all the fees and everything, and they're all set by West Orange bylaw. But overall, I think it was a very good year for that board. So be back on track, but still some issues to deal with. But and I think the other thing we talked a bit about is we'll have $100,000 in that reserve for the dehumidifier. And so I convinced them that they should put that into a GIC. We're not going to use it for a year, and rather than sitting in West Algon's account and doing nothing. So no, that money wasn't put in the budget. It's kind of a little cushion we have. So. Yeah. And I did mention to Dunk after the meeting that you might want to talk about that at the water board as well, because there's a bit of money floating there that should be in a GIC as well.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Just for clarification, Ken, the capital, West Elgin is on the hook for the first 20%. Is that correct?
Yeah, the deal we have is West Elgin pays the first 20% of all capital and operating costs. And then the 80% is split based on the users from each municipality. So we went from 43% to 53% this year. So that's growth. Yeah, that's right.
That's a good news, bad news story, folks. It's great. More kids are there and they're from Dutton Dunwich. The bad part is we're going to have to pay more. So. Thank you, Ken, for that. Any announcements? Seeing none, we're ready for closed. So give me my marching orders, Clerk Tara. Oh. Okay, I didn't see that.
So moved by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich now moves into a session of the meeting that shall be closed to the public at 7:17 PM in accordance with Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act, SO 2001 C25, for discussion of the following matters: labor relations or employee negotiations, Section 2392D of the Municipal Act, medical center, Labor Relations or Employee Negotiations 2392D of the Municipal Act for the Water Department. Personal matter about an identifiable individual, Section 2392B of the Municipal Act. And the additional item, third-party information supplied in confidence to the municipality, Section 2392I of the Municipal Act for development update. All in favor? And that's carried.
So we'll deal with the, yeah. When you're ready, Tara.
You want me to take the lead on that one? Because I've kind of,
Sure.
yeah, I've been involved in both of them.
Okay, I think we've just got bylaws left. So go ahead, Clerk Tara.
The report on those.
Yeah, let's wrap this up, folks.
All right, moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that bylaw 2023-01 being a bylaw to borrow on the credit of the corporation in the amount of $103,000 for the construction of the Dude Ranch Hill Drain be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted, and that the Court of Revision be held on February 8th, 2023 at approximately 5:15. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland. Nope. Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that bylaw 2023-02 being a bylaw to borrow on the credit of the corporation in the amount of $536,000 for the improvement of the Bennett Drain upper portion be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted, and that the Court of Revision be held on February 8th, 2023 at approximately 5:15 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried. And moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drulard, that bylaw 2023-03 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Municipal Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Nothing further. We have the dates. I don't think we'll be in council chambers on the 25th. But February 8th. Yeah, we'll keep pushing. Okay. Adjourned.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich closes at 8:15 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thanks, everyone. We got through a lot of stuff and